Hi, everybody. Today is May 30th. Tomorrow's Memorial Day. Okay, so this video, I'm just going to mention a really cool thing happening around our move, anticipated for August. Two cool things, actually. So I'm going to just mention those. I'm going to wrap up um, some more clarification on a uh, boundaries that I have set recently. So, because not everybody will agree when you set boundaries, I want to touch on that a little bit. And then I'm going to give you a preface to my next video. But before starting all of that, y'all, look at my shirt. Okay. It says, nah, Rosa Parks, 1955. Okay. So when Rosa Parks was asked to give up her seat, this for a white guy, right? Not a white lady. I think it was a white guy. I should know this. See, I forgot. I forget some things. Anyway, she goes, nah. So she got arrested, as you well know. So, anyways, this says, nah, Rosa Parks, 1955. When I first saw the shirt, I saw 1955, the year I was born. I didn't know that it was symbolic till I looked at what exactly else it said. That's what initially grabbed my attention. So I go around. Anyways, Black Lives Matter. Blue Lives Matters. R.I.P. the officer that was slain when the Capitol was stormed and taken under siege. God bless him. He earns his rest in peace. Anyways, so getting back to this issue about boundary setting, let me tell you, no one can determine, demand, dictate um, when someone should set a boundary with someone. That is entirely up to that individual about setting a boundary, when, how, and with whom. All right. And I had talked about in my previous video about my son setting a boundary with him. My youngest daughter and I were his biggest supporters when he was in prison for 10 years. Biggest support. I traveled all over. I flew. I did whatever had to be done, set money, did whatever. I love my son, and I felt that the punishment did not fit the crime whatsoever. And I knew that I would have to be the mama bear, because it wasn't something his dad was going to do. He told me I'm not going to serve time with him. Everybody can have their take on that. For him, that was the healthy thing to do. For me, it's like I wanted to be there for my son. I wanted to make sure when he came out that he would feel loved, supported, and have hope, and have a better and brighter future. Okay. And his sister felt the same way, even though I think she was only 16 when he went in. No, that's not right. He was only 17. Gosh, so I want to say no, they're like 4 years apart. So do the math. She's 12 or 13. But anyways, that does not mean you don't love that person. That does not mean that you are not going to be open to reconciliation. If they address the concerning issues that you have between each other. When a person sets a boundary, most likely they feel they have done everything within their power that they can do. And you cannot, unless you've walked in that person's shoes, been in that relationship, okay, you cannot determine, okay, how much, parents are supposed to be long suffering, okay, but they're all parents now. All of our children are parents now. So clean up your own backyards, y'all. Don't just judge your own parents. You got to do, when I say clean up backyards, you know, you make sure your children have healthy, loving relationships and ties, and that you're healthy and emotionally stable. So instead of, just focusing on how parents failed you, you don't get anywhere that way. Um, you just don't, you know. And with his son, I know what his dad has gone through for his son. And I know how much he loves him and how much he, backed him. We had him living with us. We did everything we could possibly think of to give him a new start, you know. And he has emotionally been abusing his dad by lying about him. So, of course, I'm going to set a boundary. That's going to be up to his dad. or his dad goes with him. With me, it would take sincere reflection, restitution, and repentance. You know, that sounds harsh. Maybe it does. But if you want to trust somebody again, you're going to put your heart out there again for somebody, they got to make sure and be transparent and trustworthy for you to do that, you know? Especially when you've put it out there many times. Okay. So, anyways, you all decide for yourself. I'm just explaining my decisions. All right. So, I mean, not that you have to, but someone on Facebook goes, "Oh, you probably don't want to put that on Facebook." Well, put it on Facebook. If you see me doing something like that on Facebook, which is totally out of my character, you know it's warranted. End of story. I'll support you when you have to set a boundary. Please support me when I have to set a boundary. If you love me and you care and you honor and respect me, you know me then. You know this didn't come out of, one little rash misunderstanding or disagreement. No, it's been years, you know, years of behavior, and goings on. So that's the deal. Okay, so that's the deal with that situation. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to discuss, and maybe I didn't preface this at all. It's so funny. I'm going through all of my, I've already done it. I've gone through it and I've extracted all the paperwork that I want to use um, for emotional intelligence growth that I'd like to share with you that has benefited me. Um, help me decide what population I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with elder abuse and elder representation. I wanted to be an advocate for elders, you know that is so desperately needed, to help families, whatever the case might be, like if they're being, even families that might be exploiting their elder, so you represent the elder. It didn't turn out that way. I ended up getting hired by a dual disorder treatment center. And what's so, God has this sense of humor, because I have dealt with, gosh, how many addicts in our family, but like no, not family of origin, but adult children, within, whether it's been, niece, nephew, or whatever the case might be, um, you know, but my daughter, his son, my ex-husband, um, one of my nephews for a while. Um, I think that's it that comes to mind. Anyways, it was enough to say, no, I do not want to work with this population. I'm too emotionally close. I just didn't feel I'd have the objectivity. It was so wild. So I get hired there, and that's what I'm dealing with. In it, people that came into that clinic had dual behavioral health disorders, and addiction was one, normally, and then the second one would be any mental health disorder you can imagine, um, you know, depression, anxiety disorders. So, trying to think, personality disorders. That's the other thing. So, anyways, I'll tie that up. But I found, because I've learned how to set healthy boundaries, that when a client who had to be seen in med clinic and was, would cancel their appointment or da da da, I didn't have any trouble with confronting and letting them know what was expected of them if they wanted to be able to be seen in med clinic for their behavioral health psychotropic drugs. So, but that's the one side of it. The other side of it is I really developed an empathy. Um, I have such a heart for young people, anyways. And I guess you might think, well, gosh, look what the boundaries you're setting with your adult children. Believe me, I navigate a long path, and it's my love for all of them that kept me hanging in there without, setting as firm a boundary as I did. But you set a boundary for yourself. That doesn't mean the other person is going to change their behavior. It just means you're doing what you have to do. So you're, no longer enabling. You can focus, on what you need to do for your life. And yeah, yep, the door's open, but they got to walk through it. Is basically the way it works. But I developed such an empathy because people lose custody of their children because of addiction. Um, And to see, the success stories it's just so heartening. Um, I'm really glad I had that experience. It softened me a little, and made me understand better. The root of addiction is trauma, and unhealed trauma. So I'm always talking about get yourself healed, especially if you're a parent, so you can better be there for your children. Okay. If you got restitution to make it so you can have healthy familial relationships. Okay. Focus on yourself, get yourself well first. That's paramount. That's the best gift you can give to everybody that loves you. Love doesn't die. Um, all right. Wrapping that up is this. I've mentioned before, I guess I'm not prefacing too well with this video. Oh well, it's holiday weekend. I mentioned before how I love documentaries. So I got watching this documentary about sexual predators. Oh yeah, pleasant topic, right? But anyway, I thought, oh, I don't really want to watch this. I mean, this is the thing, you can have a really good, well, believe that you have a good understanding. What more do I need to learn about this topic? You know, it's fascinating though, because, and we had this a lot in our program, we would like see movies, because we had classes about sexual abuse and how to identify it, and predators, and the treatments or the lack of treatment, whatever, and the success rate, and how many victims does a predator have, before he's actually usually caught. I think it was like 115. Okay, that's the average. I believe was the number that we were told. So, anyways, I'm watching this documentary, and they're interviewing these sexual predators. In this case, it was only men, but women are sexual predators, but it's far, far, far less. Sometimes, they go along with their partner or whatever, and that's how they get kind of caught up in it. And sometimes, well, I'll get to that. Let's get to that. So it was very interesting, is listening to their childhood stories and their trauma. You know, we all want to say, put them away. They're hopeless. Okay. But there's this program that these gentlemen are in. I call them gentlemen, that they are in, that I think they said 2 out of 600 did not were not repeat offenders. I mean, no, it was the other way around. Only 2 out of 600 were repeat offenders. In other words, they went through this whole program, and the whole goal of the program was to sensitize them to that their victims were people that deserved respect, and to look at their wounds that led them to do such. Now, they're going to have some sociopaths, serial killers, of course, but that was not the case. I'm sure they identify what people should go in these programs, the ones most likely to have some success. All of them had been sexually traumatized himself, except for one man who shared that he had been physically and emotionally traumatized during his childhood. Um, what's interesting is, everybody says, well, why don't these children tell? Why don't these children tell? This one man who had victimized, I think it was, oh gosh, numerous young boys. But, anyways, he told about when he was brutally raped and beaten at the age of 10. And he did have an opportunity to tell. Okay. His teacher was extremely aware that, by his behavior, that something was wrong. And she really approached him with gentleness and love. But he just said he couldn't. He can't say. He can't say. You see, I never. In my case, nobody ever said nothing. What's good? I don't know. Like, I just remember like my sister asking me, "You've changed. What's going on with you?" Something to that effect. But, um, you know, that's basically the only time I remember anything like that. But regarding this situation with this gentleman, is he was terrified of his life. He believed his bully and his rapist, which is, I think it was another adolescent, an older adolescent. He was only 10. This adolescent that had, abused him was going to kill him if he said anything. See, when you're a child, you don't realize that you have power. Your power has been taken away from you. Your childhood ends, completely ends once you're traumatized like this. It's over. It is completely over. So, they had to get in touch with their child that was traumatized and recognize that they were victims, okay? And start seeing, oh, wow, I don't want any other child now to feel the way that I felt. They were so desensitized to their own feelings that they were desensitized to others' feelings. And that was their way of reliving or acting out what had happened to them and trying to get a sense of control. I'm just talking about, you know, the program and the people that were participating in this. You can agree, disagree, you know. I really believe if something has proven this effective, it should be nationwide. Because you put somebody in prison that's a child predator and they get out, they're going to have more rage in them. Come on, they're going to offend. They're absolutely going to reoffend. I mean, there might be exceptions, but not, just exceptions. So if your whole goal is to prevent, reoffending, then it's so interesting. We are so worried about being punitive, and I am just as guilty. I'm like, catch this, da 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 da. I'd have a really hard time, with my offenders of late, like, oh, you had a rough childhood. Okay, look what you did to me. So, because it's very interesting that, when children are offended in this brutal way, they're so violated, their identity is shattered. you know, Children lose every potential, every possibility that their peers that have not been through such trauma. So, they're leaps and bounds ahead of them. Okay. So you can have all the potential in the world, but if you are living in that type of trauma and being reoffended and no one has intervened, and there's all physical, emotional, neglect, all kinds of trauma that children must go to school with. They're not going to perform as well. They're going to be unhappy. They're going to be injured. Their psyche is injured. So, this is why, I did not go back and finish my bachelor's till I was, what did I say, 55, I think. Oh, I went back to school at 55. I finished it at 57, and then I went on to get my master's. But it's like, this is why I wasn't as an effective parent. Well, I wasn't an effective parent at all. I was a loving, mostly kind, concerned, conscientious as I knew how to be. That's the thing, is I knew how to be. So, um, you get in unhealthy relationships. If like the same thing, if I had married someone else and had children with someone else that was healthy, might have been a whole other outcome, of course. So now, I'm hoping that the adults in our family that are parents that are still wounded and not addressing their healing, and I mean their wounds, focus on them so their children don't have to suffer. Because just as much as you have resented your parents, can you imagine? Because none of the three, as far as I know, have children living with them at all. So there's going to be abandonment issues. I, I'm just saying. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about one, but for the most part, I'm just saying there's going to be some issues. And, whether they were out of your control or not in your control, right now, let's just focus on the present. Go for it. It's plenty of time. Get healed and then, start working on mending those relationships. Your children first, your parents, your siblings, whatever you can do. Anybody that's going to support and love you to get where you need to be. Okay. So I'm going to close out. I have got, let me tell you, see, you don't know who these people are. Her name is Barbara, and I love her. She was in the same program as me. She did so much to help me. Like I was preparing for our wedding and trying to graduate at the same time, and she like gave me all these study cards, flashcards to help me study. Because I was so busy getting ready for the wedding and family coming, and I studied, but like, that last month or two is cool. It's like a days. Thank you, Barbara. I love you. But a lot of the stuff that she's given me, I'm coming across, and I just appreciate you. I look back and I think, oh my God, you really helped me a lot prepare. When I didn't get that time, you was very considerate. What that to me, what a wonderful wedding gift. Okay, I'm going to close with something I think is kind of interesting. We're multifaceted people, multifaceted. We have different parts of our personalities. I've determined this is what this pandemic has taught me. I'm an ambivert. I don't like to be with, and I've mentioned this in some video, I don't know what one. Um, I don't like to be in a group of people that I don't click or connect with, like I either don't know well or it's just like small talk. Da, 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 da. I don't get anything out of it. And I don't think they get anything out of by me being there. I have nothing to contribute in that forum. My best, I like either being with a couple of cool pals that I love being with, or just, one of my sisters or my daughter or my grands or my grandmas, people that I just feel so at home with. That's what works for me. And I certainly have some besties you know, that I feel that way about. Other than that, unless I'm on the dance floor or I'm like in a march or, a group that I'm involved in, in one of my causes, I just, yeah, I don't even like to go to church and sit in a pew with strangers. I just like, anyways, I'm an ambivert, which means, I'm uncomfortable with people I'm comfortable with. I don't really want to be around people I'm not comfortable with. Okay. Well, what's funny about this is, I don't know what class I had to write this for, and this is it. I'm closing out with this. I promise y'all. So you can go enjoy your weekend. And I'm sure you've already signed off by now. But anyways, it's got my previous name, which was Mary Kavanaugh. I was married to James Kavanaugh, which, by the way, I called him a sociopath. That was probably inaccurate. I don't, you know, I have reasons to believe that myself. He's definitely a pedophile, but as far as sociopath, I have reasons to believe that. But anyways, here goes. Mary Kavanaugh. I'll put my name at the top. This is my epitaph. This is a serious epitaph, y'all. So take me seriously. Here lies a person that has persevered over many losses, traumas, and obstacles, but never stopped reaching out and trying to improve her circumstances and anyone with whom she came in contact. That's kind of deep. That's kind of nice. Then we had to write a silly one, I guess. Here's the other part. Here lies silly Willie Mary, whose woodpecker laugh and lying on the floor, rolling in laughing hysterics, got her kicked out of many pious places throughout the country. So we buried her in this tree to feel at home. I like that one better. I love it. It's that's really me, y'all. Here lies silly Willie Mary, whose woodpecker laugh and lying on the floor, rolling in laughing hysterics, got her kicked out of many pious places throughout the country. So we buried her in this tree to feel at home. I know I had to say it twice. I just loved it. When I came across, I'm like, oh, it's my writing. This is about me. What class did we do this for? Oh well. Maybe it was a literature. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Anyway, let you go. Much love. Go where the love is. Go where the love is. I love you. Bye.